This is Voiceover In and Out. We want to welcome everybody. I am Trainer Matt with the tech juggernaut at ttjtech.net. You are all on a force mute or a hard mute, meaning you will not be able to unmute and speak. Due to the very large number of students in these teaching sessions, we cannot allow folks to unmute because if we start doing that, we'll never get anything taught. Now, if you do wish to come to a forum where you can ask questions verbally and actually speak and interact with us, which we do love interacting with you, we have our help sessions every Tuesday. We'll tell you more about those in a couple of minutes. You remember back to school when the first day was all about the rules and the expectations and everything, and you didn't learn a whole lot on the first day. Well, you're going to still learn a lot today, but there is also going to be a good bit of housekeeping. Also, give a shout out to a special guest, John Panarese from over at Mac for the Blind. Going to let him say a few words today as well. You know, we're all on the same team, and we really, really appreciate what you do. John is a great guy and has excellent training resources and paid training as well for individuals, for corporations, for government agency, whatever you need over at macfortheblind.com. So, he's just another fantastic gentleman who offers these resources. There can be more than one of us. There's
it's
plenty
all
of
community.
that. I want to very quickly take a moment to introduce the team members who are going to be teaching you, because we don't like to brag, okay? We don't want to take a lot of time. We're not boasting about ourselves. We give all the glory to God anyway. But we really do want you to know. I think it's important that you know who your team is for those of you who have never taken this course before. I apologize to those who have taken it because you've heard this before. But we're going to keep it quick. We just want to introduce ourselves, let you know kind of what our background and our experience is and sort of what we bring to the team. Lynn, if you want to just give a 1 or 2 minute about your background and that sort of thing, we'd love to hear it.
Currently, I'm working at Apple. I've been working at Apple for 9 years now. Because of COVID, I have been working from home since the beginning of COVID. Very active with Apple with accessibility and teaching accessibility to my team. And more than that, just spreading the word of how awesome our accessibility features are. Prior to that, I was working for many years as a co-director of an employment program and association for the blind and at a center for independent living for people with all disabilities. So I was very involved in helping people with vision loss find gainful employment. And I believe that when you go to work, you should be excited when you wake up in the morning, and it shouldn't just be a job. So my goal was to enrich people's lives in that way. But in order to do that, I had to make sure that their skills in technology and orientation mobility and work ethic and all of that were up to speed. So all that played into it. I have been on this team. This is the beginning of my 4th year, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here and to be able to do whatever I can to help you guys. My message is that it's a work in progress. I by no means know it all. I think we all say that a lot because we're always learning. We're always teaching each other. You'll learn from us. We'll learn from you. But we're always learning. So don't be intimidated. A lot of people, including me in the beginning, when I started to learn voiceover, I know a lot of people thought like, oh, how am I going to touch a piece of glass and make anything happen? But maybe a lot of you are past that, but don't be intimidated because we're here for you and you got lots of support. And I want to say, I think everybody feels that way in the beginning.
Well, great to have you, Trainer Lynn. Thanks so much. Trainer Lynn comes to us as a volunteer. And even though she is an Apple employee, I'll take the time now because it just fits in.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, she is not here as an employee of Apple. And along those lines, just to be very clear, this course is not being taught by Apple, nor is it endorsed by Apple. So we have no official partnership or endorsement or anything from Apple. Most of Apple doesn't even know most of us, But the reality is that many of us have completed or begun some of the certification work that Apple does offer, through its various channels and so on, to be able to access their resources and to know how to teach things in the way that they want us to teach it. All right, so alphabetically, that would bring us to Trainer Rita next.
I've been around for a long time.
Very long time.
My working life, I was in rehabilitation for blind adults for 30 some years. And since I've retired, I've been teaching individuals one-on-one voiceover, and joined the TTJ team as a volunteer. And I laughingly tell Matt, I've never worked this hard for free in my life. It's been a lot of fun, though. It forces me to learn. I'm kind of the documentation person in terms of writing narrative for steps to be taken for certain actions. A few years ago, I joined a listserv with Denny Huff, who is a technology trainer in Missouri, and he has a company called Gateway for the Blind, and he started a listserv called the iDevices listserv, and he asked me to co-moderate that list, and I'm like, wow, okay. So I was thinking maybe there'd be 50 people on that list, well, there's like 500, and I was like, oh, I have a platform here, I can do a little teaching. So every Monday, I write up an article called Rita's iDevice Advice. And it's kind of, it's usually relevant to what's going on with Apple in terms of the updates. Like this morning, at least one about voiceover. And I draw from a lot of resources for those iDevice articles. And they also go to about 8 other listservs, as well as to all the technology centers across the United States. There's a source that shares those articles. So they go a lot of places, and I get a lot of positive feedback from them. I think it helps people, sighted and visually impaired. So it's been a lot of fun to do that. So you'll see my name sometimes in Rita's iDevice Advice. So I'm part of the team, and welcome everyone. We've got over 280 people signed up for this course, and Matt will be issuing, more instructions as to, how to communicate, how to get a hold of the team, things that you can do. I would strongly suggest you go and get the recordings of the classes, and that way you can stop and start the recording and practice the things that the team is teaching in terms of voiceover. Voiceover there's a learning curve to it, and the more I've seen very expert voiceover users, and there's things they don't know, the things I don't know, things that none of us know. It's amazing. We're learning from each other constantly. So please enjoy.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rita. We are glad to have you. Let's go on to the newest member of our team. Just came on board with us this past summer, and that is Sarah. Trainer Sarah, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Matt said, I'm the newbie around town, and but I've been doing tech for a very long time, as in I learned when I learned computers when they were wall to wall, ceiling to floor, and there was like one keyboard that went to the entire shebang. But as far as Apple is concerned, I have been on board, just starting with my iPhone for about, oops, that's my guide dog, for about 10 years, maybe 15. I don't do time very well. And I come to this team as a person who has lost my sight. So I had sight. So several of us have never completely blind, and several of us have just sort of come to it, newly or not newly, but gradually. And so now I rely completely on VoiceOver, whereas I used to just use it as an addendum. And that's been a big part of my life. I started out with VoiceOver and Apple at the Braille Institute in California. I started teaching there as a volunteer, then, learning the whole VoiceOver thing with the iPhone, quickly got an iPad, moved to the Mac. So now I live in Vermont and I'm a writer, and I'm really happy, and I feel very lucky to be on this team.
And that is our team. And then, of course, I'll just round things out very quickly. I have, excuse me, been blind since the age of 3. Technology, again, this is Trainer Matt. Technology's been a part of my life, really all my life, whether it was, the assistive tech like the Braille Mate and Braille and Speak and those kinds of things back in the day, to my first laptop computer back in 6th or 7th grade, I guess, somewhere around there. I've been working in technology most of my life. I was first working on the Windows side of things, doing virus removal, formatting the hard drive, disk, all those kinds of things. When I discovered Apple products in 2009, and as a part of that VoiceOver, it truly changed my life. It's never been the same since. I believe Apple products are empowering. I believe they are life-changing. I started out on a Macintosh and then also got the first iPhone that had VoiceOver, which was the iPhone 3GS. Completely abandoned the Windows platform as soon as I spent even 5 or 10 minutes with my very first Mac. I decided to do that. And in 2015, the tech juggernaut, as you know it today, was formed, the company, and it's continued to grow ever since. Praise God, he's really grown that. But that's where it all began. I received an Apple certification in 2015 as a what they call an Apple Certified Associate in Mac OS. At that time, I think it was Yosemite, if I remember correctly. And then in 2018. Participated in the program and received the certification as Apple teacher. And that does not mean that I work for Apple, because I don't, as I said earlier. But what it means is I've completed the requirements that Apple feels are necessary to be able to teach things like the iPad and the various apps and so forth. And I receive a lot of resources and a lot of helpful guidance from Apple on a regular basis as to things that can be done and creative ways that these devices can be used. And so we will talk more about that when we talk about the philosophy of this course. But that's me in a very, very quick nutshell. I am married with 2 really awesome kids. My son's 14, my daughter is 9. And we put this team together. I truly believe it was put together by God. We decided to start offering these courses for free because we are so passionate about what Apple has done in our lives. And we want to share that with as many people as we possibly can. We will talk about the course philosophy and everything, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to have our friend John speak and share. John, whatever you'd like to share about your experiences, or encourage these folks that it really can be done, or whatever you feel led to say here, we'll give you the floor now.
Well, first of all you guys, 130 plus, how many people registered? You guys are in for a treat. I've known Matt and Cliff and the team, Rita, for a number of years now. We're all passionate about, as Matt said, what we do. This is a community of people, and it's just an awesome group of people to be around. And I'm really, honestly, sincerely honored that Cliff and Matt invited me to come and just say a few words to you guys. But you guys are very, very fortunate to have this team teach you and walk you through iOS. I have not met anybody who knows iOS in and out the way that Matt does. He is a savant when it comes to this stuff and just blows my mind. I don't get, unfortunately, with my schedule, I wish I could attend the sessions regularly, but I have, through Cliff, been able to, and Rita, been able to listen, to some of the past recordings. So you guys are definitely very, very fortunate and blessed. These guys are fantastic. My background, back in the Jurassic period, I used to sell products for blindness and low visions for about 18 years when my dad was alive. We used to kind of co-run a business, and he was the eyes and used to drive me all over the country. And we would do shows and trade shows. And maybe some of you folks who've been in this area for, since 1993 might recognize Technologies for the Visually Impaired. That was my company up until really a lot to do with Apple, because the handwriting on the wall for me personally, as a vendor of like Windows products, I kind of saw the way this was going to go. And I left the industry in 2010 because I kind of saw that Apple was going to make a significant impact. I've used them all. My background goes back to Telesensory's Power Braille in 1993 with Windows 3.1.1. So I've quote unquote seen it all. And and I still have to use Windows. I do have a couple of contracts that I do have contracts that still require that I teach JAWS and stuff. But when I got involved in Apple accessibility in 2005, I got to meet the pioneers. People I don't know if names like Mary Beth James, Mike Shabanik, people who kind of were in on the foundational aspects of VoiceOver on the Mac and then the iOS in 2009. So I've had the good fortune of being around accessibility, becoming a beta tester. I've been contracted with Apple a few times to work directly with them on accessibility quality assurance. I teach a few Apple employees right now VoiceOver. I have a good relationship with the ACSP, the Apple Certified Support Professional, and the basically the people that kind of get you certified. The exams. I do a course. Cliff is actually in my course right now to get the ACSP. I'm also an Apple certified trainer. Really, as Matt said, Apple, to me, their philosophy, and having been involved in team meetings, and I'm just going to say this, and please do not mistake this as bashing of other companies. Apple, when I was contracted with them, accessibility is part of the team meetings. I see on a lot of email lists, people talk about Apple accessibility faltering, and they've forgotten and all this other nonsense. Believe me, they haven't. Every team meeting, whether it's iOS or Mac, accessibility is part of those team meetings. There is no separation of powers as other companies who will remain nameless.
It's part of our
purposely do.
foundation.
Yeah, Apple. I was so impressed when I got to be contracted with them and got to sit in on these meetings, and how much respect they have for the opinions and the needs of accessibility. Sometimes things happen beyond our control when you're dealing with software updates and there's a lot of moving parts involved. It does affect the way that that VoiceOver will get bugs from time to time and things like that. But don't get mistaken by that as opposed to Apple not caring, quote unquote, because they do. And believe me, I just had a conversation with somebody very high, I'm just going to say high up in accessibility. And believe me, it's as strong as it's ever been as far as the commitment to Mac and iOS. And look at iOS 15. Matt is certainly going to walk you guys through this and put you through the paces. So many new cool things that you can do with VoiceOver. I'll just say live text as sort of a tidbit to throw out to you guys.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely blows my mind what Apple, and what's going to come next That's the thing that really I'm already curious to know. But the bottom line is, you guys, as I said, you're in great hands, and I appreciate the chance to get to speak to you guys. I'm hoping I can jump in here from time to time and I just want to listen. I just want to learn from Matt, because that's going to round out my knowledge. And as Lynn said earlier, we're all students of the game. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. We all learn new things from each other. From my students, when I work with people, I learn so much from the person that I work with. And I always pick up little tips, and because they have a fresh perspective that I don't have. So sometimes they pick up things, or they've heard things from friends where I go, wow, I didn't know you could do that. So learn from these guys. You're going to get a lot out of it.
Well, thank you so much, John, and I really appreciate all the kind words. It means a lot, and of course, I give all the glory to God, but I really do enjoy doing this. There you have it, folks. That is your instructor team, plus our special guest, John, who may pop in at any moment, and we always welcome his input and his contribution. I want to share with you kind of what I call the course philosophy. And I want to base that on a little bit of a comparison here. When you purchase a screen reader, such as JAWS, for example, you get hours and hours worth of training material. I don't even know how many hours they're up to. I tried to look it up, and it's not immediately apparent that it's stated anywhere. I thought it used to be on Freedom Scientific's website, or whatever they call themselves now, but I didn't see it this time in their descriptions. But they offer all these DAISY, training guides, and then there's all the extra guides you can get for scripting and all this. Apple from the beginning has taken a very different approach. Okay, if you look at the way that Apple's documentation works, it is very, very simple. It is enough to give you the core information and then let you play around and discover and experiment and figure things out. Apple has user guides for every single product, and we will talk about those in a little bit when we talk about ways to get help on using VoiceOver, okay? And they do. But the information that you get in those guides is enough to help you get started. And what it appears like, and though I cannot speak for Apple, okay, again, I don't work for them, I can't speak for them, but the impression that you get as a user is that what they want you to do is they want you to learn the fundamentals of VoiceOver and then apply those to everything else you do. Because once you learn the fundamentals, and this is true on both Mac and iOS, John, I think you would agree with me, that once you learn the basic VoiceOver, either commands or gestures or whatever it is you're doing, you can do anything in any app, on any website, anywhere, anytime.
Yes, it's consistency. It's consistency across platforms.
That's right. It's very consistent. And of course, there are some extra things that, might make your life easier, certain keystrokes, certain gestures that you can enhance things. Cliff is a big fan of that. We all learn differently. And I always call Cliff the keyboard king, because if there's a keyboard command, he knows it, Right. So but if you just get the basics, if you just get the fundamentals, you can apply them to any app. I'll give you a very, very simple example that I think most folks here will understand, even if you're completely new to VoiceOver. You've probably heard that the double tap gesture activates items. Okay, we'll teach that in a little bit, but it does. It opens apps, it enters characters, it, selects whatever it is you're selecting. I mean, double tap, right? That's how you do it. Double tap to open, double tap to activate. And so now, if I read a document that's written for a sighted person, and it says, tap on the plus icon in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, I can actually apply that. I know that for me, that means double tap, because when a single tap for a sighted user is a double tap for a voiceover user. So I can just apply that. Nobody has to, as Cliff would say, handhold there. They don't have to tell me, well, that's a double tap for you, because I know that when somebody says tap on the icon, I have to double tap. And I can even find it in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, just like Apple says that I will. So I've said all that to say, this course is going to be based on that philosophy, where we're going to really emphasize the fundamentals. Now, we know everyone learns differently. And so we are going to, there's a balance somewhere in the middle, and we are going to try to be that balance. We are going to try to teach you some step-by-step things, especially early on, and walk you through things so that you get a better feel for them. And that's what I love about this team. We all learn differently. We all work differently. Rita, earlier alluded to herself being the documentation person. I think of Rita as the queen of step-by-step, because she likes,
true.
It is both for herself and when she's teaching. She has, where I'll say to somebody, hey, adjust your rotor settings. It's under your voiceover accessibility settings. She will tell them, unlock your iPhone, tap on the settings icon, and I'm not making fun of you, Rita. I mean, we need people to do that. We all bring different elements. So we will do our best to maintain that balance. But we are going to teach based upon Apple's philosophies, where we are going to focus on the fundamentals first and foremost, because if you master those, you can apply them to any app. What are you watching when you watch the Super Bowl or the World Series and you see all these great players out there? You're watching masters of the fundamentals. That's what it comes down to. And with technology, if you can master the fundamentals, then you're going to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. Now, with that said, there's no possible way that we can teach every single app, even if we just stick to the Apple apps that ship with your phone. There is no way that we can come up with every scenario, every circumstance that someone might want to do and then teach that. The course would last so long that it would be insane, okay? And that brings us back to, again, we're going to teach the fundamentals, and then we're going to give overviews of many of the apps and do different things and highlight certain features. But also you have to remember that it's a challenge to try to combine the teaching of iOS and its apps and the teaching of VoiceOver. Those could really be two separate things entirely, because if I can teach you VoiceOver, you can learn iOS and its apps. But the features and functionality of each app depends on you being able to successfully operate VoiceOver if you're a VoiceOver user. So we are going to do our best to get those fundamentals, and then each of the sessions we will be adding different apps and showing you, the calendar, the notes app, the messages app, all of these types of things will be covered, at least from an overview perspective, where we show you, hey, this really works here also, Now, this class is designed to focus on VoiceOver, but we know we may have some sighted folks as well. Maybe you want to just learn iOS, or maybe you're in this class because you have to teach someone to use VoiceOver. Maybe you're just thinking about VoiceOver because you're like Lynn and you've been diagnosed with something where doctors are telling you you're going to lose your sight. Whatever the case may be, we want to try to offer something for everyone. Our primary teaching method is going to be from the VoiceOver perspective, but we will, when we think about it, and we will try to remember to think about it, we will say also, hey, look, if you're not using VoiceOver, this is the standard gesture. And I apologize in advance if I call it the sighted gesture. That's probably the most politically incorrect thing in the world, but that's sometimes how I think of it, because it is, voiceover is primarily used by people who don't see in the traditional sense. So if I say sighted gesture, I'm sorry, but I mean the standard non-voiceover gesture. It's just easier to say. So we will try to mention those if you need them, and we're not being attentive enough to them. Please submit that in. There is one other piece of business before we get into the real teaching here, and that is just to go over all the, as I said, the resources and those kinds of things that can be helpful to you. The sessions will take place every Monday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, just like today. And that will be right through to the week of Thanksgiving. Wednesday, the 24th of November, is the final session. That's 2 p.m. Eastern. Now, somebody was asking about the link. The link will never change for this class. If you're in Voiceover In&Out from now through November 24th, every Monday and every Wednesday, you will use the same link that was already sent to you. So some people were commenting about when we send out the links and so forth. We've already done it. The links are already sent out. You have the only link you'll ever need to join this class. Save it, because it is going to be the same join link for every single session. Another way that I think is even easier is to subscribe to our calendar. Now, the only people this might not be easier for is the brand new voiceover users. If you're not sure how to use Apple Calendar and those kinds of things, this next thing may or may not be what you feel comfortable with yet, but it's a great option. We have a public calendar. It's called TTJ Training. It is designed to work right in your Apple Calendar app alongside of all your other calendars. All right. It has every Voiceover In&Out session on it from now through November 24th. And it even has the link each time, even though it's the same link. It has that URL in every single one of the events. It'll even notify you. You want to subscribe to that calendar if it's at all possible for you to do so. Okay. Now, where are you going to find the link to subscribe to that calendar? Well, there's a couple places. The easiest place for you as a student to find the subscribe link is in the initial welcome email that Trainer Cliff sent out on, I believe it was Monday, but I can't remember. Maybe it was even before that. And he sent out this welcome link that asked you to go ahead and subscribe to the TTJ calendar. If for some reason you didn't receive that link or that email, or maybe you weren't yet registered, and now you are, so you got last night's email, but you didn't get, the one from Trainer Cliff or something. You can go to the TTJ website, and that's the next little piece of info that I'm going to give you. So the website for the Tech Juggernaut is ttjtech.net. So that's Tango, Juliet, TTJ, and then the word tech, TECH, .net. And technically it's www, but you don't even need it. You don't have to put that. Just ttjtech.net is really all you need. Any web browser. And if you want to find the calendar link to join the subscribe calendar, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the bottom of the website. All of our navigation links are in the footer, okay? Because that way we don't have to have voiceover users and other screen reader users messing with hamburger menus and all that stuff, for those of you who know what that is. So it's just in the footer are all of the links, for paid training, for free training, all these different things. One of those links is called free resources. There's a lot of information under free resources, and most of it might be beneficial to you. And one of the things we have there is our calendar, and it'll say subscribe to our calendar. There's a link there. Just click on that link while you're on your iPhone or iPad, and it will open up into the calendar, and it will say, subscribe to the TTJ training calendar, and you'll be able to swipe over to subscribe. And once you do, as I said, all the events that we have, including this Voiceover In&Out class, will appear alongside of all of your other events. If you get tired of that, if they're, causing you frustration, you don't want to see them, we're going to teach you later how to hide calendars when we learn the calendar app anyway. You can hide the calendar and then you won't get the notifications, you won't get the events, all that. But for anybody who's really interested in learning VoiceOver and iOS and stuff, we suggest that you keep that available. And it is by default once you subscribe to it. Another thing that we suggest that you do, in addition to all of that, we also have a newsletter. Okay, now this is optional. You don't have to do this to be in the class. You're already in the class, all right? But we suggest that you subscribe to our TTJ newsletter because that's how a lot of people found out about the class. A lot of people look to our newsletter to find out when we're offering more classes. This is not the only class we're going to offer. We got a Mac class coming up in the winter, primarily taught by trainer Cliff, but we're all going to be assisting because he needs all the help he can get. No, I'm kidding. It's more with the Mac, and that'll be right after Christmas. We have our flagship course, kind of the crown jewel, as Cliff calls it, iPad for all computing. That's in the spring. We're going to have these little courses called TTJ Cafes that are like mini courses on various other topics, Apple TV and Apple Watch, and maybe even some advanced stuff. There'll be some little surprises in there. All right, so how do you find out about all that stuff? Plus, we have paid services, and sometimes we discount them. For Black Friday, we usually have a promotion, where you can get paid training at a lower cost than usual. How do you find out about all that stuff? You subscribe to our TTJ newsletter. Now, what we use for our newsletter is actually a listserv, but it's only a one-way listserv. For those who are familiar with how listservs work, this one is only one way. So people can't reply to it. People can't, do all that. It's strictly going to be emails from the TTJ team. And most times it's surprising if it's 1 or 2 a week. Usually it's even less than that. So in order to subscribe to that listserv, you need to send a blank email. And I'm going to give you the email address, okay? The email address, and this is also on the website under free resources, by the way. You'll see it there as well. But just to give it to you now, the address to subscribe, it's an email address. It's TTJ Tech. Remember, I spelled that before. TTJ, Tango, Juliet, and then Tech, TECH. Plus, not the word plus, but the plus sign. Okay, if you have a mechanical keyboard, it's the equals with the shift. All right, just up there to the right of the 0 and the dash and everything. Okay, it's the plus sign. So TTJ Tech plus subscribe. The word subscribe. SUBSCRIBE. TTJ Tech plus subscribe at. It's the at sign because it's an email address at groups, like plural groups, GROUPS .io. Groups.io. TTJ Tech plus subscribe at groups.io. And what you got to do is you got to send a blank email, okay? And then it will respond back, and I think it may ask you to confirm your identity. You're going to get this email that says, you can manage your subscription, create a password, click. You don't have to do any of that unless you want to. All right, it's optional. It allows you to customize how much email you receive. And, if you have multiple subscriptions, maybe you're also subscribed to our Only Apple Talk and Support or the iDevices list, or, maybe you're subscribed to other groups.io groups. You can go ahead and create a password for your free account and manage everything there. But most people won't even need to do that, especially for this list, because this, as I said, is a one-way list. So when it says things about sending messages to the group and stuff, none of that applies. That's it for all of the housekeeping for now. There may be other things that arise that I've forgotten, as we progress. And as I said, Wednesday, we're going to share the document with you. But I do want to say one final thing before we start the teaching here, and that is we do have help sessions. If you want a place where you do have the opportunity to talk with us and unmute and ask any Apple-related questions, okay? We have a help session every Tuesday. It is free. It does not require registration. And it is a different link. It is a different link from the VoiceOver In&Out one, but it's also on the calendar. So if you subscribe to that TTJ training calendar, you're going to have the link to it already. If not, It's also on our website at ttjtech.net under free resources. We have the help session info, and we actually have a link that says join the session. You can click right on it, and it'll take you right into WebEx, assuming you have the app. Okay. And so that is every Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central. You can figure out or ask Siri for the rest. And we just go right down the list. We literally look at every participant's name and alphabetically, we try to give priority to the new folks who come. If you've never been there before, we usually jump to you pretty early on. But typically, we just go right down the list A, B, C. Well, you know how the alphabet works. And we take each person and we give you a turn to ask your questions. And if you have no questions, you just let us know. But everybody gets a chance to speak in those things and hopefully get your questions answered. All right. And for those who are Facebook users, we do have a TTJ Tech Facebook page as well. So you can, if for those who prefer to use Facebook, that is also a valid option.